All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Two Planker Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Schaefer, and today on the show, we got Tall T Dan. And Dan, thank you for joining us, dude.
Thanks for having me, bro. It's a long time coming, I feel like, but the timing's right now.
Absolutely. And hey, for our video viewers, happy St. Patrick's Day. Dan has the green on.
I had to pop out green.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, we've been setting this up for a while. I'm looking forward to it. I want to start off with the Rail Jam. I just watched the recap video last night, and how'd you feel it went? It was a good video.
That day is like such a beautiful whirlwind. I'm lucky enough now to have a few years under my belt where some things are just smooth sailing. And I'm also very fortunate to have like a great crew at Sugarbush Parks and some very reliable, close friends that I can count on to just take care of things. Like if I don't know what should be done, or if I, just need them to take care of a certain thing that like just overlaps with a different thing I need to be doing at the time, I'd be like, yo, Joey, like, can you make these prize packs up real quick? Or like, yo, can you get this shot? Can you do this? And like hit up park crew. I'm like, yo, guys, so I had to change the timing for this. Can we get a rake in at 1 instead of 12:30? And like everybody is there for the cause, and I'm just the loud guy in the bright clothes that gets the credit for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So this was the sixth annual Down Rails and Double Kings. I don't know if it's annual because COVID might have interrupted it, but
We got it in 4, so yeah, we're 6 in a row.
Oh, that's sick. So, I mean, how did you even get into the event game? I think events are something that a lot of people, especially with small businesses, they're like, "Oh, I would love to do that," but it's like, how do you even ease your way into that, or what do you need to start that?
Um, I'll start specifically with this rail jam. So Down Rails and Double Kinks is Sugarbush's rail jam. My friend Joey put the name on it when he was working there for social media marketing. And I pulled up for the event that first year, and I was just so stoked. I was having the best time, and I happened to have a box of some gear in my car because, especially then, I was just always rolling around with gear because if people wanted it, I had to have it. So I was super hyped, and everybody was just like throwing down and having a lot of fun hiking the setup. So I went to my car and grabbed a bunch of gear and just popped back up to the hill and started giving it out. Like, yo, that was sick. Like, you should have. And then, like, obviously, I don't know, Parks crew kind of like that. And those have been my friends for years and years at this point. So going into the next year, they're like, man, do you want to host it? And I was like, yeah, that would be really cool. We should do that for sure. So I kind of, in a sense, commandeered something that was already great that they had going on, and they let me put my stamp on it and keep building it year after year. So as far as that rail jam goes, it was like a supernatural thing, and I was just genuinely hyped on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like some things just come about so organically that it's like you can't. It's almost better to not force things. You know, like if it
Yeah,
already exists and they like it, and it's a good matchup. Like why not? Why not commandeer it for the benefit of everybody?
yeah, and it's worked out well, and there's a bunch of homies working at brands these days that I've known for years, and they're in a position where they can float me some gear, a pair of skis here, poles, whatever it may be. Bunch of good people making fleece hats these days, and they all got a couple throw my way. So it just builds on everything, and then all together we get a day like Saturday where there's 140 people that sign registration forms and participate, and there's probably another 50 or 60 that were just hanging out at the bottom watching,
Mm,
having time.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. So on that note, one thing I wanted to talk about, because I heard this on another interview you did, is like the importance of community events growing up. Because you said something that on a different interview that really like resonated with me. Like the first experience you had with skiing at large was a Warren Miller movie or something along those lines. And like that's what I would watch in Hartford, like when I was growing up, like preteens, like whatever, elementary school. And dude, just that an encounter with the greater ski community. I think that's like the spark for a lot of people. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's so eye opening. The Where I was coming from growing up is a small, pretty rural town, I would say. Um, and we had a ski club. I was fortunate enough that we had a ski club, so I got into it because my brother got into it because his friends were into it. So that chain happened, and I end up at Jiminy Peak 6 Thursdays every winter, just like hanging out with my 12 friends from high school that also signed up for ski club. And we don't really know about a world beyond this. We would run through, I think Coyote Ridge is the park there, or Alex's Park is the smaller one, probably is what I was into at Jiminy, and just like completely eat shit on rails and get up and then like go ski in the woods and like just duck ropes and go off trail and skip our lessons and whatever. And like that was skiing to us. And then, we end up, my brother and I, and my dad going to a Warren Miller flick at this theater in Albany. And it was so eye opening because it was way more than 12 kids not knowing a damn thing. And they came from all over. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that are into this. And I'm like seeing the video and it's like, there's so much going on around this. There has to be more. And like after that, my brother starts getting some Poor Boys movies. There's like Fuel TV has a couple that they're playing. Happy Days, I remember being one of them. And I just start seeing that there's more to skiing besides, the experience that I was having at Jiminy Peak, which I loved and I never traded for anything. But it was really great to find out there was more. So after that, somehow find my way to New Schoolers. And it just spirals out of control from there, man. Now it's my life. At this point, what I'm doing with my life is very, very revolved around skiing or traveling to go skiing or hanging out with people that I know because of skiing. And I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot lately because I've been doing a lot more work out west and working with a lot of people that are older than me. And one thing that a lot of these people say that live in like Utah and Colorado and Montana, they say that like their lifelong friends, the people they've been friends with forever, is through skiing. And I bet you golfers can say the same thing. But it's like you grow up playing baseball with people. At a certain point, like the fun and games stops. But like with these, I don't know, with skiing, it's just like my longest friends I've ever had have all been through skiing, and I don't see an end in sight because we're still hanging out all the time.
We know a different feeling than anybody else knows, for specifically skiing. And because of that, we can relate on a deeper level. And it's true, like you said, for golfing or other activities and communities, that's how these people connect through that common experience. And, we're lucky enough that ours is skiing and it takes us to the most beautiful places. And the certain kind of people that fall in love with it are also the most beautiful people. So we're super fortunate to have stumbled into this life.
Yeah, I think, man, those early days of it's kind of what you're describing. It's like the stream that leads to the ocean. Like you get a little taste, like, oh, there's something way bigger going on with skiing than just me and my buddies like night skiing at a local hill. But I think I wanted to say this before I forgot it. Rail jams for people that like filming. Rail jams are the best thing to ever exist because this is I came up. I like the park, and then I was like, oh, filming is also sick because you get to hang out with the best riders and you get to document all the stuff that you love to watch. So with rail jams, you get just free practice filming. You get to film the best people at your local mountain, and then you get to meet everyone. So I think, I don't know, I wanted to add that part in because I've been thinking about that a lot lately, how great rail jams are just for I don't know, for everyone involved, but specifically if you're a filmer that doesn't know anyone, like go to rail jams and just film for free and just
Yeah,
put people up.
absolutely. If just get brave for a second, put yourself out there. It's an easy win for a filmer trying to make some friends because everybody wants a nice clip of themselves. So you go and you manage the chaos of a rail jam and you get those nice clips. You got all your new homies and they're already at your local hill. It's only good times from there. Go make a couple park edits and put it on YouTube after that. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, dude, it's a good pipeline. The preseason rail jam to park edit pipeline is pretty good. But I don't know, man. I went to my local mountain the other day, and ski sundown. There hasn't been as many preseason rail jams, and I just see these kids just iPhone clips. That's all there is lately.
Yeah, it's a different progression these days. Everyone's got their iPhone already for the most part, so it's easy to whip that out. Um, Deciding to purchase a dedicated camera comes with a little bit more commitment, I would say, and also the homie that wants to be the cameraman in a sense. It's easy to pass off your iPhone and have whoever film you, but to spend a couple $100 for gear and get into editing and something besides like I don't know iMovie and CapCut or whatever you're using
Yeah,
takes a little bit more gumption. But those people are still finding their way. There's still kids out there buying shitty cameras and figuring it out, and
yeah,
there always will be. So we just see more of the iPhone clips in our daily life.
yeah, dude. I just look back, and this was only like 10 years ago. And at our local mountain, there was like four kids running around with glide cams and road mics on top of like it was all super legit. And at the end of the day, we were just filming iPhone edits, pretty much like the same essence. It's just friends filming each other. But wow, like the rigs back then used to be like crazy. The people would go all out.
The glide cam era. It's can't say that I miss it, but I'm glad I was part of it.
um, cool. All right, we can get into more of the edit stuff later. I want to get straight to something that a lot of people have been asking out. Let's do a little bit of I guess tall T Dan symbology. You're gonna have to explain some of the symbols because people really want to know about them, and I want to catch them while we're only 10 minutes into this. So let's do. What's the meaning behind arsenic? Let's do that. Let's just get the base level.
Base level behind arsenic is super simple. The number 33 came first. 33 was my number for sports through high school, and I, had an affinity for it because of that. When I was procrastinating from chemistry homework freshman year, I was just looking at the periodic table of elements and thinking of numbers I liked. Made my way to 33 and saw arsenic and just like, oh, arsenic like sounds pretty cool. And my brain was probably caffeinated and definitely wandering and not doing the chemistry homework it was supposed to. And in popped in my head arsenic apparel. And I was like, oh, I should start a clothing company. And then I did.
So how old were you? Was that high school or college that you were looking at that periodic table?
That's like September of freshman year of college. So I'm 18 at the time.
Okay, sick. Um, yeah, so maybe we want to go along with that a little bit longer. Like, why did you even want to start a clothing company? That's kind of a random thought to have.
Yeah, so I it wasn't something that I had thought of consciously. I wasn't trying to think of a name for a clothing brand before that. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I really want to do like something with corner store t-shirts. But after I thought of the name, it just like really was catchy to me. And then there was like for sure the deeper seed of wanting to be involved in skiing in some capacity. Like I remember when I committed to UVM, it's like my goal before I graduate is to be in a Meatheads video. Like it was the dream in some way to just get in the mix. I very quickly learned that my dreams of being in a video for my talents weren't going to happen. I'm just not that dude when it comes to skiing. I'm more reserved and cautious, I would say. So being in a film, especially at that time, turned out to be out of reach. But making a brand seemed really attainable because I was already buying some tall tees from the corner store in Albany, and they were like 6 for $20. And I was like, well, I could spend $20 on 6 shirts and like go hit Michael's and buy some fabric paint, and all of a sudden I have a brand. And if from what I was seeing, like if you got a brand, you can like be a part of it. So that's what I did.
That's awesome. And I feel like I may have put the cart before the horse a little bit. So, what's the origin of the name Tall T Dan?
Yeah, it's like pretty much Tall T Dan came a week before Arsenic. If I had to guess, it's like, first weekend or two, like very early at college, I'm hanging out with like whatever kids I'm hanging out with at the beginning of my college career. You kind of just latch on to whoever is willing to like kick it with you, whether you know them from class or from orientation or whatever. And it just so happened that in like my crew, there was 3 homies named Dan. So one night I wasn't even there, but a couple of my friends in that group were like talking about me, and I think it was, I don't know, Brandon or Jake or somebody said Dan, and then somebody else asked which Dan. And because I was wearing giant shirts at the time, like my friend Kyle Greenhouse chirped in, and he's like, Tall T Dan, just as a way to identify me, because like the other guys weren't rocking 6XL, you know what I mean? So after that, just as a differentiator from the other Dans in the crew, I was Tall T Dan.
Wow. Have you gone back to him? I don't know if you guys are still friends or whatever, and been like, yo, that name stuck. That was a good nickname.
I think um, I think at some point I let Kyle know that I was appreciative of that, and if I haven't, then I think he could feel it now. And uh, still am in touch with a lot of those homies, and it's funny that the name is stuck so well, but it doesn't change. Like the reason for having it kind of still exists. There's a ton of people named Dan. Like even now, people still confuse me like with other Dans with having a differentiator. Like Dan Meese, the homie skier Dan, is his gram name. People still think I'm him somehow, but people pay attention in different levels, so I don't blame them. If I were only Dan, or I don't know, I wouldn't want to run my last name. I never really run my last name, so I'm glad Tall T Dan is what's working for me now.
Yeah, that's fire. Yeah, I think it's really cool that the whole Arsenic origin story basically starts at UVM. I don't know. I like it when a story has like a place, So like you're walking around campus, if you ever go back and you're like, oh, like this was the place that this happened, and that's kind of built into the campus now, like the history of something else. So I always think that's cool. When you were there, did you have anyone else helping you at the start, or was this like a solo venture? As much as it could be with like the community helping you out.
Um, Day one, it's like always friends at the beginning to help out. I started like with the original logos with this one kid at school, and then pretty shortly after that, like my homie Luke was like buying the first shirt in the dining hall, helping out. My homie Pete Farrell has helped so much over the years. He's a Connecticut homie, but not Sundown. What's the other one? Southington. He's a Southington.
Yeah.
Um, he he was like in the dorms with me, putting fabric paint on, cutting out stencils like late at night, or screen printing in the laundry room or whatever. And that's never really changed. It's always been me and the help of my friends that are around. Like right after that, like my friend Sean Thomas helping with graphics, and my other homies on Pine Street, like Liam McKinley and Phil and Jamie Amadeo, Eric Rumet, are helping me screen print in the summer or cut stickers or whatever. And that's like just in the very early years. And it's grown to now where there's, it would take me a long time to name all of the people who give me a hand and like lend their talents to my goals, and it's what makes things so much fun because honestly, I don't really have much skill myself. Like I have ideas and like I said before, being loud and bright colored, so I kind of grab more attention. But like people's talents are really what build Arsenic as far as the product and the whole feel of everything.
Yeah. um. So you mentioned the stencils and the logo. So just that iconic, I think call it the cash crop. That logo. I mean, that's the one I've seen forever. I recognize that from like at least like a decade ago. So when did it? How'd you come up with that one? And what's the origin of that logo?
So the cash crop logo, that's the one that's kind of a choppy circle with the 33 cut out of the middle.
Yeah.
And the way that that one came about was just further developing a logo that had already existed. Before that, I had just that big 33 with a split in the middle, and it said Arsenic Apparel through it. And at the time, this is 2012, pretty much every brand, or I think the big factor is Instagram is kind of like on the rise or getting going, and your profile picture is like in a circle shape, and a lot of brands come out with like a circle based logo. So that kind of trend at the time, and also me feeling like the word apparel didn't fit really into like my vision for Arsenic. Obviously, I make clothes, but it's such a limiting word that like now being more involved in some video projects, and I have a book project that I'm working on now, and I don't know, things that aren't apparel felt excluded by that Arsenic Apparel. So we dropped the words from it, put the threes all together, and I'm just sitting in the living room at Six Pine, which is where my friends lived at the time, holding up my laptop screen with like a perfect circle and the threes in the middle, or that choppy circle and the threes in the middle. And I'm like, what do you guys like better? It was just like, that was the only two options really. And, I don't know how much of a response I got. Like, it's not like this was some meeting. I'm just like there with my laptop demanding people's attention. So I remember at least the consensus of whoever took a break from their other activities to chime in. The consensus was that choppier circle looked cooler. It kind of matches the threes have that little bit of a choppiness to them as well. And then it's fun, at least in my eyes, that it wasn't a perfect circle because everybody else was dropping that perfect circle logo for Instagram. And that was it. The cash crop was born. After we made the graphic, I gave it the name Cash Crop. The idea was my brain kind of like skips like 3 steps out a lot of times. I would say that's a talent of mine. At least in my current roles, that's a talent of mine. And other things, maybe it's more of a burden. But Cash Crop came from the idea that the threes were in the circle, and I was just like, obviously super inspired by hip hop, like through everything. And I was like, well, there's money in my circle is like a thing that you might say. And I was like, that means there's cash in the circle, and crop circles are a thing. And like, so all that combined, I was like, all right, this is a cash crop then, which is another word all on its own. And I was like, Arsenic was never a cash crop in this literal sense of that word. I was making maybe enough off of it to buy some gas to get to the mountain at that point. But I liked the way that sounded and the feeling that it gave for that logo. So ran with it. And I think putting a name on something helps people identify with it more. So that's what happened.
Sick. I mean, and I'm telling you, we could spend all day getting the backstory on every, the boxing gloves, even the Curious George that you're wearing. I would love to, but I think maybe that's a project for you to do at some point. So we'll move on to the next of the symbology section that just got a million viewer questions about. Um, so the origin of Lip On Blind 2. And also to put it in on the record, only trick in the world, only trick that matters. What's the final stance on the whole meme?
First, I'll say it's not a meme. This is a passion and a dedication. Um, and the words that I spoke were only trick in the world. Obviously, like through the grapevine, it could become a lot of different things. Only trick for short works. Um, so the way it came about was, like I mentioned before, not a particularly able skier. And I was in this rail jam early season at Killington. It was probably the Turkey Jam or whatever they call it in like 2010. So like November 2010, probably. And for some reason, they decided to judge the rail jam like a slope run where you had to like link 3 hits. It's just like the park was set up that way. So, I guess that's what they had to do. But I was super bummed on that because I don't have 3 tricks, especially in a line, no reverts. So I'm like, okay, I can't do anything backwards at that point, and I still can barely now. It means I have to land forward. And the first feature is this real down rail, like get on from the side, not from the front. And like, that's, pushing it already. At that time, like if I get on the side of a rail like that, I always just ski up and over it. Like a regular slide, I just always go over there. And I was like, well, there goes my chances at this rail jam. I'm like, but if I lip slide, I can usually lock in. So for this first hit, I'm like, all right, I'll lip slide it, but I got to do a trick. So, and I can't land switch. So front 2's out, going to forward is not a trick. Going to switch doesn't work. The only thing that was like within the realm of my imagination was the blind 2. I'd never done it before. And yeah, I had maybe some ideas for the features after that. But first drop, I think we were each getting 3 runs. First drop on this down rail, I did the lip on perfect, and I got the B2 around. First time I had ever tried that in my life. And I was just like on my way to the next feature. Brain was like, holy shit, that's so I was just like beyond excited, and I like exploded. It was like a flat box. I tried to do like a step over hippie killer type thing and just absolutely annihilated myself. But it didn't matter, bro, because I had done it. Like it was an NBD for me, and I laced it first try ever in competition. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. And I just kept doing it after that. That was the only trick for me until now and forevermore, I guess.
Yeah. So after that competition, was that just your claim in the park? Like you're rolling with the homies and they're like, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to do this. Dan, what are you thinking? Oh, I'm going to do the only trick.
Well, yeah, it was, it's kind of cool because lip slide generally is agreed to be harder. And I think most people would say a blind 2 is usually tougher than a front 2. So it's not like it's some super advanced trick, but like the fact that I had that and I didn't have anything else was kind of a flex. It's like if you could do like a tray flip like every time, no problem,
Yeah.
off of anything pretty much, and like you kind of can't even like skate otherwise. Like that was me with my lip on blind 2. Like I had it for real. And other than that, like I'm pizzaing into features. I can't do a regular slide and lock into a rail. I don't have anything else, but I got that. So I just played into it. That was my move.
Dude, I love it's such yeah, that is such a great way to approach it. Like I completely know where you're coming from. Like you got to have something, especially if you're rolling with people that are good, and like that's valid enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was just valid enough, and I was
Oh, that's so funny to me. Um, That is actually something I wanted to ask you. So you ride with some of the best people in the world. Do you ever look around and be like, I'm a little bit out of place here, talent wise?
Um,
Like
I
Kimbo
know.
Sessions, for example.
Yeah. Well, there's different instances. Like there's the instance of Kimbo Sessions where it's a stretch for me to be there. It's a far stretch, and I I won't say I'm not deserving of being there. I don't have like an imposter syndrome about myself. I know very well who I am and like what my skill levels are. But to like pull up at Kimbo Sessions and like there's B Dog, there's Henrik, there's Kim, there's Tanner Hall. Uh, I know I'm not there for the same reasons that they are there. And that's fine with me. I'm just grateful to call them friends now. And then there's like the people I came up with that were, goats to me, like or like early overlapping people like the Bunch. I met all those guys after they put out their first movie as the Bunch, and I was just like along for the ride with a lot of the stuff that they were accomplishing. And similar to the HG Skis guys, and I don't know, at this point a lot of people younger than me that have become super talented that I've like been friends with in a sense since they were like 15, 16 or whatever. It's the idea of like being surrounded by the world's best is obviously it's fun, but at the same time with skiing, it's such a small community in the grand sense of everything. So it makes sense that if you love it to the level that I love it, at some point the legends are going to become your friends. It's just that small of a world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is so true, man. Like, first of all, it's an industry pretty much dominated by people that are like late teens through their 20s and then into their 30s if they're lucky. So it is funny being when you're in your 20s and everyone around you is your same age. It does lend to like, your heroes becoming your friends, as you said. But I like what you said about like the local heroes. Growing up, I was always a bigger fan of people at my home mountain, people in the region, more so than anybody at X Games. I was like, dude, who cares? Who cares what's going on at X Games? Have you seen what Liam McKinley is putting on Vimeo? Like, that is where it's at. And I don't know, just want your thoughts on that.
Well, it's more not necessarily like attainable, maybe isn't the right word, but it's more familiar. Like you can see those Liam McKinley videos and you maybe saw him filming them at Killington that day. Like you were there early season and you got to see some of it go down. And then you were like maybe making your own edit and maybe just waiting for him to put out his. So you were more stoked because it was that much more familiar to you. Whereas like you don't really have as much ability to comprehend like what's going on in Keystone or Copper or Breckenridge or Park City if you haven't been there, or you don't know those people like just a little bit more, haven't seen them. So that like bit of familiarity and maybe relatability makes it stick that much harder for you. There's like no doubt that people like Jesper have immense skiing talent, and to watch what he does is just like, wow, mind blowing. But the enjoyment is totally different than watching like Ian Compton do like a switch tails onto a down rail at Carinthia, like in person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. I think that's where Andy has hit the nail right on the head with Tell a Friend Tour. It's like, yo, these are those guys, and they're here. Can you like these kids?
Yeah.
It's almost like, can you believe that they're here at our crappy little hill, hitting the same rails that we're hitting? Like, I think that comes down
Yeah.
to it too.
And it really puts it in perspective when something like that happens and you see what they do with your craft rails. You're like, I didn't think that was possible here.
Mhm.
And you're just like inspired even more by them.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, I remember like 2014 Telefrentor. Maybe yeah, I think it was Telefrentor, not just Traveling Circus. But Cole Drexler was just destroying Sundown. Like just the side hits that he was finding, like stuff I never even thought of. I'm like, I don't know. I think anyone that's skied with someone that is like, nationally known for skiing well, like when you just see them casually riding down the hill, you understand how good they are at skiing. Like they're just good. Some people are just so damn good. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, a different breed.
Yeah, man.
Um, I remember the first time seeing Keegan Kilbride ski in person, at least that I remember. Um, I think it was Keystone early season. I don't remember which year, but he was going through the park like on a solo lap first thing in the morning. The way that like I thought someone would go through to like film their best edit of the season. Like he just, he brought the same energy, like hips down, switch lip twos, and like I don't know, just skiing so fast and so aggressive on a run solo, no camera. That like the same energy as like when he's out filming the cut. And I was like, built, you're just built different, man. You have an ability that doesn't compare to anybody else.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, it's. I think that skiing. You have to bear with me for this analogy, but like, if you ever talk to or like I work with a lot of these guys that grow up in cities, like they grew up in New York, they grew up in Chicago, they grew up in any city, and they're into basketball. They always have a story about like, oh, like we played against, this professional when he was younger. Like, oh yeah, I remember, like especially the older heads, like, oh, I remember Kobe when he was coming up, like he was insane. I feel like the same thing happens with skiing. Like you have your local hero, and then they graduate high school, and then they're off to Summit or Salt Lake, and you're like, and then all of a sudden everyone knows who they are, and then you're the guy that's like, oh, I remember when this dude was 13 or 14, at our mountain. So I always thought that basketball and skiing were so similar in that way, where like the local heroes, everyone like their hometown is always like, oh, that's our guy. I always thought that was so funny.
Absolutely. There, I mean, Sundown has that pride for Lupe, right?
Oh my god, for sure. And he actually, I missed it because I think I was in college at the time, but he came back and did a movie premiere, and I mean that must have been awesome for him, dude. Like he's goes away for years, comes back, does a movie premiere. Like that's got to be a total I made it moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially for guys that like still rep their hometown. You say it for basketball, I think of it for rap. Like when a rapper
Mhm.
blows up, like I don't know, Trippy Red was one that stuck out to me like in recent years. He's on tracks like repping Canton, Ohio. Bro, nobody's repping Canton, Ohio. And you're like a very large artist and you're holding it down for Canton. Like I respect that so much. And everybody is back in Canton just like losing their mind over those bars the same way that like we see or sundown kids would see Lupe in Real Street and go super crazy for that. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
the support from your hometown is so nice as long as you show that love back. And when you have the opportunity to, I don't know, just do something like a movie premiere, come back and like get kids stoked. And like I came from here and I have these sick opportunities with skiing. Like let them know it's possible. It's a responsibility, I think, if you have the opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Nick Gepper is like, I just talked to him. He's like the best example of it. Like he repped Perfect North so hard and then went to the Olympics and took it home. And I think like they were damn near about to like elect him like mayor of the city. Like that's how stoked they were on him. So it's just cool. Yeah, that hometown pride is awesome.
Yeah, that's so great. Like Evan Wallish going back to Pittsburgh area, Seven Springs, and doing what he did the last few years.
Yeah.
There's people that have done it, and I'm glad that it's too many to list.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Um, all right. Here's another thought. We'll go away from the symbology for a little bit. Um, your crew, actually, I don't know if it was your crew because the Vermont heads, I'll call them YMR, HG Skis, Liam McKinley. Um, Could you go into like the YMR HG era of things? Because I think that was an awesome East Coast era of skiing that I feel like might have been lost to the winds of time and like just Vimeo nuking everything. Like I think this was an awesome era.
Yeah, there's a slight overlap in there, but it's more so sequential. Along with that, I would throw Deus was a another crew name that we had around those years, and it's just like the friends that I made. Again, early season Killington or at Sugarbush. This group of homies, you know, it changed over the years depending on what people had going on in their lives, but there's a familiar cast of character for a lot of it, like Liam or Cole Gibson, Phil Parrish, Jeremy Veilleux, um, a lot, a lot more names too. But as far as like going from YMR to Deus to HG, we were just friends, and like especially at that time, it felt like everyone always wanted to put a name to their friend group and like kind of make it more of a thing. And we really were about that, so we just did it. We made gear, we made videos. People like had stereotypes for who we were, whether or not that was accurate, and it was a lot of fun. I think more people should make crew names again. I think crew names are a big thing that should come back, but like most heads are putting out like an individual cut on their gram only of them that they passed off with their friends. So I see why it like has less of a necessity now, but at that point it was also branding. Like you would probably see a YMR edit drop and watch it kind of no matter what, because you're like what we were about or like felt some type of way about us. So there's power to that. And I try to, like with the WTRP videos now, I want to motivate some people or just like inspire them to create a longer form content in that same vein, because that's how I came up and what I have so many fond memories of. So like if you already have a sick crew at your hill and you're just like kind of all passing off and making gram cuts, like get into making a longer form cut and highlight the scene at your hill and what your crew is about and the kind of things that you're into, music, shenanigans, the kits that you wear, like it can be so regionally differentiated. And I think in longer edits and like having a crew that you put out content with over a period of time really gives you the opportunity to highlight those things and have people become familiar with it and be inspired by it. And that's what we were a part of that system at that time where everybody was doing it. And hopefully in a small way with the WTRP videos I can like inspire a little bit of that to continue now.
Yeah. I love that, dude. It's like putting together a band almost. Like everyone joins together and then boom, like something is born that's greater than the individual. Even though with a lot of local crews, there's one kid that's way better than the rest of them, but he gets the closer, Everyone gets their part and they get to borrow some of his credibility being in the same crew.
Yeah, and they also get to learn from him or her and become a better skier as well. And besides that, all the fun times, like nobody's out here, or I would say most people, if you're the best skier in your crew, you're not really thinking about it like that. You might know
Yeah.
you got more tricks, but like those are your homies. Like you're trying to ski with them. It doesn't matter like how good they are. Um, on that same idea where you say there's always like the best skier or one that's way better, I would like to add there's also usually when it comes to street crews a small spot guy. And just to clarify on that more is like like okay, who step into this six kink, not the small spot guy. Who step into this like squeeze gap to duck, that's the small spot guy. And he'll do it so fire. And you got to have someone like that in your crew too, because that's how you get the variety and the whole feature. And if everything's all big spots, you can't appreciate how big they are.
Yeah.
But if you got like someone who's able to do something really technical and sneaky and something tiny, and someone who's able to jump off of four stories and be okay, you got the whole range in between. That's how you have like a really sick crew and a really sick video.
Yeah, I like that range, man. My favorite guy growing up just like the archetype of a guy. It's he doesn't have the best skills, but he'll go huge. You know, oh, there's a huge transfer from like the lip of one rail to the landing of another. Like he'll send that, or like, oh, he only has straight slides, but he'll try to disaster the quad kink. Like he's the guy for that, you know. Like everyone plays their role a little bit. Like he's the drummer if we're going for the band analogy.
Yeah, that's definitely the drummer for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So let's talk a little bit more about like those the videos you're putting out because you were a vlog guy for a long time. Love those videos, and but now it's like you're not like really a producer. You're more like the network. You know, you're more like CBS airing somebody else's project. If we're going for another sports analogy, um, but yeah. So like, what's the thinking behind it? Because I think it does encourage the crews, but like to form and then make a product. But I want to hear what else you have to say about it.
Well, yeah, at this point, I don't know how many videos are on the Arsenic YouTube channel, but my involvement with each is like to different scales. Um, so like I don't know, most recently, what did I put out? I guess I just put out the Rail Jam video
Mm-hmm.
where I don't know, speaks for itself. It's an event recap video.
Yeah.
Then there's videos like the WTRP videos where like a crew approaches me and says, "Yo, I really want to make one of these." And I'm like, "What have you made?" And they're like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "Make an edit or two. Let me figure out like what your guys' style is, and then we can make one together." Which is sick because now there's one or two more edits before that get to exist in the world. They all like figure out that they love to do it. We make the third one together. It's like a bit more polished and more established what they're going for. I send them a big box of gear that they can rock. We, I usually like from their creative control. I don't really mess with anything unless like there's some egregiously offensive song choice. But everyone's been on point. Makes a sick video. I'm like, I always just tell them to like make a video that you're most hyped on and that like gives you a sick memory of like 3 or 4 weeks of your life. And people come out with that and it's so fire. For some of the street stuff, it's people who I like, you know, John McMurray and his crew to Skip. Like I bought them some lights last year and sent them some gear, and you know they wanted me to upload the video on my channel. I'm super hyped on that. But if they didn't, that would be fine too. Like the Meet Me at the Sauna video that Ollie made,
Yeah,
that was
sick.
so sick. Ollie is a legend in our time, without a doubt, one of the best. But that video, we took that trip to Finland to hopefully we were trying to finish up a different video we had been working on. And you know, that like for that, Arsenic paid for like the first 2 weeks of the Airbnb and for Ollie's flight, and I think Patty's flight, my flight, and like if we needed some shit out there or whatever, like I copped food a good amount too. But then the footage from that trip was like too sick. It was all there was like too much and it was too sick, so it couldn't go in the other video we were working on. It had to be its own video. So we just chopped that up and put it out as its own thing, which was for sure the right call. And then the video that we were working on before that, in Vermont mostly, that's getting finished up, and we're going to premiere that the end of this month, and it'll be online shortly after. But every video has its own flavor depending on who I'm working with, and to the extent I'm working with them. You compared it to like CBS as the network. That's like pretty fair, I'd say. You know, I just make sure that we're all on the same page, that they're going to have fun doing it, and I support the best I can when I can.
Yeah, just like to varying degrees. But like then there's some crews like the Keep Standing kids not kids, guys. I think most of them are older than me. But like Hypertunnel's on your channel, you know. So is that a more intensive involvement in the whole thing?
Um, yeah, for sure. With street projects, I understand the level of effort that goes into them. So usually I pay I just call it like a publishing fee. I don't know, I made it up. But like I don't want to just like take somebody's street project and put it on my channel. So I try to come up with a few $100 as like the publishing fee
Mm-hmm.
to upload. Like they're hyped to upload on my channel because like there's a bit of an audience there already, so maybe they'll get some better reach on it than if they had like put it on their own channel with no subscribers. Um, and besides that, like I'm also sponsoring that crew like with actual money and like booking Airbnbs for them when I can. Same goes for like child labor and foray, but you know, I'm not uploading their videos, they're uploading their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think and it's so funny, man. It's like when you don't have a word to describe what you're doing, it's hard to like, you know, be confident about it. But what you're doing is what I mean, I'm in the TV world for work. That's what TV does all the time. Like X Games, it airs on ESPN, but they pay a crew to film the whole thing. It's a crew called Echo, and they Echo hires all the people. They film it, they chop it, and then they just hand it off to ESPN to put on TV. And that's basically what you're doing. You know, it's like they're packaging it out to you, and then you air the final product. So yeah, it's something that's been done, and it's awesome. It definitely, I think it for sure gives it more reach having it on an established channel already.
The differentiation there is I'm trying to teach people who Echo are.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's my goal. I it's cool. I understand like the benefits of these videos being on the Rsync channel. Obviously, like that's a good look.
yeah.
But I want people to know who these people are making the video. That's
Mhm.
why I usually in the video title have the crew name or have the person who made the video right there. So it's like, you know, you see Stand on the video title next to Hypertunnel. You see Ollie's name next to any edit that he's making, or you see the crew name when applicable.
Oh yeah,
Because I want people to have the opportunity to become fans of these skiers or become fans of these crews. Because I'm a fan of them, and I don't post everything that they make either. So if you're into it, you now have the opportunity to dig a little bit and find other things that they've made and continue to enjoy their product.
yeah. I think it's a really unique setup. I like it. I love that it's not on Vimeo because there's no chance that this is getting deleted. Like I cannot. Anyone that lived through that knows that there's so much great stuff that's just gone now. You know, it's just like it got straight up got nuked by the platform it was on. So there's a few years of just great content that's evaporated pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's sad the dark ages of skiing now that we just have to try to remember.
Yeah. um, all right. Transition. Let's get the origin of the of your fit, the yellow pants, blue flannel, and Gatorade towel. What's the origin for that?
It's it kind of goes in steps. The I would put the blue flannel in first place and most significant, and probably will be the longest lasting. I don't wear yellow pants every day, and I don't carry around the towel as much as I used to. But that flannel, from where I'm sitting, I can see two of them. So, um, the original blue flannel was gifted to me by Jeremy Veilleux, um, just after Christmas. Yeah, so it was Christmas of 2013, but it was 2014 when he gave it to me. We were living in Big Bear, California at the time, and I got back from visiting my family for the holidays, and he's like, "Do you want this? It's like too big for me." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is sick." It's a gibberish flannel, and I'm a big fan of gibberish, so I was super hyped on that. And then he tells me that this is at this point it's kind of lore. I don't have like verification on these claims, but I believe it in my heart. He tells me that he got it from his brother Valley, who is a legend to me. Like before I knew anything, I knew like I wanted to be like Valley. That's a cool dude. Um, and Valley, who's a Salt Lake head, got it from Jeff Kiesel, who is an absolute legend, one of the most stylish skiers to ever be in the game, and then especially at that time. It's just 2013, 14 for reference. And then the further end of that lore is that Kiesel got it from Tom Warnick, who is a personal goat to me, and someone I admired greatly from a distance. Never had the pleasure of meeting him, and sadly, I won't be able to. Rest in peace to Tom. But the idea of that flannel, when I first got it, having passed through so many hands of people I admired, loved, and respected, was like my Superman suit when I got to put it on at Bear for the rest of that season. Yeah, I guess I have a knack for not letting go of things. You know, same as the Lip On Blind too. I just kept on wearing it, bro, and went ahead and spent some time digging around on the internet and getting more from friends. I have 4 of those blue flannels now.
Same brand, same everything.
Yeah, it's just this gibberish flannel from I think 2010 is when it was made. Somewhere around there. Yeah.
That's so L.
I got a 2XL, 3XLs, and a 4XL.
That's fire. And so you mentioned in previous interviews that you wear almost your uniform, so people, there's no doubt in their mind that that tall guy over there, that is Tall T Dan when they see you in person. Is that, do you, what do you think the value of that is for the community, having like a figure in the community being so easily recognizable in person?
Well, I definitely wear it for myself first, I'll say, like with the yellow pants. Like I love that fit.
Yeah.
It's first and foremost for my personal style and enjoyment. And then I recognized after, holding it down for so long in that kit that like, especially in the beginning of the season, you pull up and everybody has new fits on and you're like, wait, who's that? Wait, who's like, you don't know who anybody is anymore all of a sudden. Cause like you got like just from their nose to their chin to figure out who it is. Except for me, like everybody recognized me off rip and they would be like, oh, of course this is you. Like, and then I realized, the benefit of it in being recognizable. And yeah, I'm just always looking to like link up with the homies. So if I'm able to be spotted from a distance, like, I might not, everyone's wearing all black or whatever. It's the beginning of the season. I don't know what they're rocking. I might not be able to recognize who's who, but if they want to like come kick it with me, like they know where I'm at. I'm not hard to find. So it's a great benefit for me, I would say, to be able to link up with friendly people easily.
Yeah. Have you ever accidentally been incognito? Like, oh, like all that stuff's wet. I'm gonna have to wear something else today. And then somebody's like, Dan, is that you? Is that you under all that?
Yeah, for sure. When it's like wet snow out here, I usually run a different kit, especially if I'm like gonna try to go ski in the trees. So I have these like black bibs, and this year I've been running a dark green jacket that's got some waterproofing. And I was rocking that the other day, and I get in the lift line. This is like 2 weeks ago, and I have my flannel on underneath, like sticking out maybe an inch and a half. And Andy Hoblitz like hops in line behind me, and I didn't know because he's got his snow kit on, and we're just like kind of both in line for who knows how long. And he's like, "Oh, dude, you were gonna say hi?" And I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, "What? Who's talking to me?" Like, no one's about to recognize me right now because I know, like, also that I'm incognito. And I turn around and I look up because he's, I don't know, six something, 6'7". I don't know. He's a tall man, and I see that it's Andy. Honestly, I kind of knew it was Andy just from the voice before I turned around, but looking up to the sky confirmed my suspicions. And he's like, "I didn't recognize you with your POW kit on, bro." And I'm like, "Oh, got the flannel underneath. Hopefully, someone would catch me so I don't have to ski alone all day today." But yeah, that's like sometimes you're just a little more low key. And then I also have the added benefit if I'm like having a day where I need to like, I don't know, headphones in, ski to myself, I can just run an alt kit like outfit B, whatever it might be. And for the most part, no one's going to bother me.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty funny. You've almost turned yourself into like a cartoon character. You know how like what Bart Simpson wears, like that's Bart Simpson's fit. You have like, yeah, I know what Dan wears. That's like his cartoon character outfit.
Yeah, I'm super down with it too. I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
But I would say it's more like Steve Jobs with the jeans and the turtleneck than Bart Simpson. I don't know. Bart Simpson has shorts and a tank top or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so funny, man. um, let's see if there's any which way we can go. Um, let's talk about the clothes for a second, uh, and just creative process in general. I think you put out a lot of stuff that's pretty unique. I like when you collaborate with artists. Like just in general, what is your creative process for, any particular drop? You can use an example if you want, or you can just speak generally.
I think the biggest um, advantage that I have is patience. I can have an idea slow roast for years to either get the timing right or the execution right. There's stuff that I'm going to be putting out this fall that I thought of 5 years ago. But I also have the benefit of, being a one-man crew, moving quickly if I need to. So there's things that I think of today that I'll do tomorrow. So with my creative process, I've got that freedom of time and execution. That's a huge advantage to me. And then as far as like when I'm putting a collection together, I'll have what I see as more of like anchor pieces, which usually at this point has been, um, a graphic print on a sweatshirt or some of the cut and sew things I've been getting into. And then I'll take accessory pieces, which basically hats or sometimes t-shirts that maybe fit in and give a full look to a collection, generally based on color schemes. And I can round things out. And that when I start piecing a collection together far enough in advance, you get things like I did a tufted rug this past fall, or those kind of bigger accessory items. I did some mud flaps a couple years back.
I remember those.
Yeah, I have one right here for the video homies. I'll grab it.
Yeah.
It was part of a collection I called Keep On Trucking, which was Arsenic's 10-year collection. Here's the mud flap. It's big, dude.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's I think 3 feet by 2 feet. It's for an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
So I was making this collection called Keep On Trucking, and I was like, all right, fuck it, get an 18-wheeler mud flap to round things out.
That's so sick. I'm gonna selfishly ask a question. Listen, I'm the host. I can take it whatever way I want. This is no benefit to anybody but me. Potentially, I think that those gray hoodies you have that you do the graphic prints on are the comfiest hoodies I've ever worn. Straight up. Where do you get those from?
The gray hoodies?
Yeah, like I'm thinking of the what's the one I have right now? Like the three faces, like that graphic. Yeah. Whatever that's printed on, that gray hoodie. Whew, man, that thing is fire.
Yeah, I can't tell you where I get it from. I can tell you where you get it from, though. I use my blank for most of my sweatshirts as an independent hoodie. Mm-hmm. if I mean, you can just look in the neck of yours and see that. So I don't need to gatekeep that info.
Yeah. Independent. Damn, those things are fire. Yeah. I just had to ask because I had the opportunity to ask, and I'm going to ask. Um, for the collections, when you're working with an artist, like the boxing gloves, I think are just like one of the most iconic, some of the most iconic imagery you have. Like, do you guys sit down to work together on something, or do you approach them and say, "Hey, this is a pre-existing thing you've made. Want to, work together and get it on some, get on some clothing?" Like, how does that work for you when you're collaborating with other artists?
Every process is different. Every artist is different.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just see something and I'm like, yo, that would be so sick. Like, please. And it's always like I'm approaching friends, so it's an easier conversation to have. And, I of course compensate people for their work as best as I can. People are super understanding that, like, this is a small thing, but I'd never take anything for free. That doesn't sit right with me. So I try to, get some money involved for people when it's their work and their talent. Um, some different artist collabs, it's like I have an idea that, like I said, I don't have the skill to execute on, and I work with them and their style, especially. Like I'll approach an artist based on their style for a certain idea if I think it fits right, and we'll make it happen together. A couple of revisions, but for the most part, I'm like just sharing my idea and letting them execute how they imagine it, because I think that's when their style gets to shine through, rather than them just doing what I tell them to do and trying to paint what's in my head. Um, and then other times it's like something that is pre-existing, but we put a couple changes on it to like bring a little more arsenic vibe to it as I perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anything along those spectrum is how it gets done.
Yeah. I'm going to throw in our first viewer question. Nick, what's the top selling logo or piece of all time?
I feel like well, there's an answer. But top selling is kind of misleading because for most things I don't make it again.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know, the hoodie that you have, there's 60 of, and maybe I could have sold more. Maybe it could have been top selling, but I didn't make any more, and I'm not gonna. So we won't find out. The one style that I continue to make and have for a long time is the thick shorty beanie,
Mm-hmm.
which is like that. It's a little bit of a shorter fit puffed beanie that has like a marled yarn is what it's called. And I've just been running that beanie for 5 years probably, I think, and it's going super strong. That style is starting to fade a little bit, but a lot of people still want to wear it, and it just has the little flag sewn on it. And so I would say that's got to be far and away the most sold item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, when I imagine seeing someone like someone from the mountain in street clothes, I imagine that beanie on their head, like at the bar or something. Um, so I wanted to zoom out a little bit because you're in the fashion world, and so what have you learned? Like, just general thoughts on fashion. Like, where I'll bring this to how it relates to my personal life. Like, when everyone wears their everything. Everyone's always communicating, whether they intend to or not, and your clothes are a big way of doing that. So, like when I go to the airport, for example, I always try to wear something ski related. It's usually arsenic. So like I'll throw on a hoodie or I'll throw on a hat or something, just so if anybody's walking by that's in the ski game, they're like, "Oh, what's up?" What are your thoughts on like fashion in general and the importance of it? Because I don't know, you've been doing this for 10 years, so I figured you'd probably have read a thing or two or thought a thing or two about just like the general effect of fashion on your like expressing yourself or how people perceive you or whatever.
As simple as possible, I would say look good, feel good.
Okay, I like that.
take it straight all the way down to the individual, the way that you did for yourself, and apply that. I just want to, if people feel good in my clothes, I want them to have them. So I guess that's my take on fashion. I'm not aspiring to like be in New York Fashion Week or I don't know. I don't even like put out real lookbooks. I haven't put out real lookbooks. So a lot of the stuff that like gets done in the fashion world really doesn't apply to what I do in my day to day, and even where I'm like looking ahead into the future for Arsenic. Kind of looping back to something we talked about early on, when I decided to drop apparel from the name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I make clothes, but I'm not. I don't know. I make clothes, but I'm not like making fashion.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can nice things too, for sure. Like I'm super happy with the things that I create, or the way I put it together. But I'm not. I didn't study anything like that. I don't know really anything about it formally. So it's just like me playing on an instrument that no one taught me how to use.
That's sick. I like that. Yeah. So just thinking about what you said, like the New York Fashion Week. That was actually a viewer question. That somebody, I think they said it in jest. They're like, "Are you going to ever have a New York Fashion Week show?" But like the purpose of those shows, from what I understand, is it's like when Mercedes puts out a concept car, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, that's never ever going to be on the street because it's not safe. Who knows how long it could hold up. That's the same thing that fashion shows are for. It's like concept clothing. It's taking ideas and bringing them to the furthest degree. So you never thought about doing anything like that for Arsenic, like just doing something outrageous, just for the. I mean, the mud flap is pretty outrageous, but
Yeah, yeah. Like I guess like that's where a similar thing comes to life for me. Is like I'll do something outrageous that doesn't have the intention of selling. Just I don't know, for my excitement, or because it fits in with a greater concept. But I'm not like, yeah, not doing fashion week type stuff. This stuff for me that I'm creating clothing wise that's like super far out there is like things that I'm actually trying to sell, and it's only super far out there for me because I'm working off of like blank sweatshirts trying to make pants, or I did this corduroy overshirt in the fall and winter this year that was like super far out for me, but it's kind of just like a normal looking shirt to most people.
yeah, no, that's cool, man. I like the way you approach it, and you said you never studied fashion at all, and we kind of glanced over this, but like you had a whole other profession prior to COVID. Uh, do you want to mention like how you made the transition from okay, I'm half in Arsenic, half in your other job, going full time Arsenic? Could you give us that quick little story?
Yeah, I went to school for athletic training, which if someone listening isn't familiar with it, it's similar to physical therapy, but like usually in a sports team setting. You're like your high school would have an athletic trainer or football teams have athletic trainers. So that's the homie who runs out on the field when someone gets hurt, and that's what I was doing for many years after I graduated with that degree. Um, I mostly would do athletic training in the summer for summer camps or weekend tournaments. So I would get like a gig doing a lacrosse camp and make like, I don't know, $1,200 in a week, or get some soccer tournaments on a weekend and try to make like $800 in a weekend, which is like good, fast money. I'm talking gigs like $30 an hour, $35 an hour sometimes. It's a healthcare profession, so it's not like a crazy wage, but for me in my 20s is like I'm making some money that I can get by with. I don't have any expenses, right? So I'm stacking up all summer and like, spring and summer, sometimes into the fall with adult tennis if I was really getting money. And then I would take all that money I was making and buy clothes with it in like August and September. And then I would sell those clothes through fall, winter, spring to like make it through while I was just like ski bumming around. So I was running that cycle for years, and getting good at it, getting better gigs. I was getting in positions where I could turn down $25 an hour gigs and get like the tennis gigs for $40 an hour. Cause like tennis is like, for the most part, rich old white people who can pay me $40 an hour to like tell them why they're cramping and just like chill otherwise. Um, so I was running that program. Like April would roll around and I'd be dead broke. Like I get my tax return, go to Hood, and that was it. And then I would start working again. Usually, AAU basketball was my first gig every year, and that was going nicely all up until the pandemic started. And as if you remember the dates, it's like mid-March, and the world just kind of shuts down. And I was supposed to have my first AAU basketball gig like first weekend of April. I got like $1,000 to my name, and I'm like, well, if the NBA is not playing basketball, then these high school kids in Vermont probably aren't playing basketball either. So I was very quickly out of work. The college that I had been filling in part time at as an athletic trainer, like shut all their sports down, and wouldn't do sports for like another year and a half. It turned out, but yeah, my hand was forced, so couldn't make money doing athletic training the way I had done the previous like 8 years or whatever. And I fortunately had Arsenic as another form of income. So I just went all in with that. It was, yeah, obviously it's worked out well. I haven't done any athletic training work in a few years now since then, because I'm getting by doing Arsenic, and super grateful to like have control of my own time. So I'm not like particularly interested in getting back to working for somebody else.
Yeah. But I mean, you still have that in your back pocket if you ever needed to.
Yeah, I maintain all my credentials. I do the continuing education, keep my license in good standing. Because I love athletic training and what that brings out of me, and the opportunity to help people do what they love to do. Someday I'll get back to it when the time is right for that. When that is, I'm not sure. I'm really happy with what's going on right now.
Yeah. Nice, man. I'm trying to hit all the notes because this is part business episode, part episode for the Vermont boys, so I'm trying to get all aspects of it. So looking at the business side, like this was a fully, would you describe it like prior to COVID? Was it more of a hobby? Was it more of like a part-time job? Was it more of like a passion thing? Like how did you view Arsenic prior to needing to go full-time with it?
Passion project is for sure the word that I would use it to describe it. Even as it was growing, like there were different things along the journey that kind of brought it up another level. I was always a passion project, and athletic training was my main thing. It was like, I'm going to do it for as long as I can. And then at some point, I'll get like a full-time athletic training job instead of doing like the part-time gigs that I had been doing for so long. And then that just got flipped around really quick.
Yeah. At any point, did you ever think of quitting doing Arsenic?
Yeah, definitely. There was a few times, like I'm coming up on 14 years, so I would say there were like 3-ish times where I was kind of on the fence. It was like I always framed it so intensely to like make sure I meant my decision.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I would frame it was, one of the times I was thinking about going to grad school for athletic training and like continuing on that career path. And I was like, okay, either like I stop and do grad school, or I go twice as hard. And like every time I picked go twice as hard.
That's pretty ill.
So then that's what I would do. I would go twice as hard because like I needed to commit that much more to it. Because like being on the fence, I would get to those points where I'm on the fence and like, do I stop? Do I go? Like I didn't want it to be like crawl. I wanted it to be sprint, like mean that shit. And yeah, I made that promise to myself a few times and kept it.
Yeah. That's I don't know. I think we can get more into that later because I think some people have some viewer questions about that. But the journey of it's just a lot of people's journey with anything that they're passionate about is just it really comes down to a handful of decisions to not give up on it. Like, I really think that's what it is. Any dream career, anything that you love, it's like you get to the point where you're like, all right, I could just completely give up on this and it won't be a pain in my ass anymore, and I'll just move on to the next thing. Or you can decide to keep pushing forward. And I think the best stories are the ones, 14 years. It's like, yeah, like I had to choose, like I can count on my hand how many times I had to choose to just keep pushing forward and keep going hard. But we'll get into that. And you know what? I think let's see. We got a lot of your questions. Let's transition into those.
Before you before you ask a question, I just want to emphasize what you just said because
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
agree with I would agree with it entirely, and it's something that I've reflected on myself. Like I said before, I don't consider myself to be particularly talented with any of the things that are related to making clothes. And when people ask me, if I get a random DM or talk to a new homie in person, they ask me like, how did you do what I've done? And the answer is for sure just that I didn't quit. There were numerous people in my circles and like extended circles over the years that do what I do way better. They make better graphics, they make better clothes, they whatever the skill may be, they are better than me at it. I just had the opportunity to not quit, and that's why I am still doing it today. It's not that I'm more talented particularly, but choosing to continue is what separated Arsenic from other brands that started and ended.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in college I was forced to memorize a poem, but the essence of it was all about persistence. It was saying that there's people that are talented that are unsuccessful. There's people that are smart as hell that are unsuccessful because they don't have persistence. Like if you're persistent, dude, you could do anything. Like literally anything. Just like, all right, that didn't work out. On to the next one. And it's just so true. And I've been saying this like to people around me lately. I think I've said it in the podcast. It is so annoying that as you get older, like those little sayings just make sense. Like the saying "never give up on your dreams" is so true, and it is so infuriating because you hear that from the time you're a little kid, but you don't understand it until you see people around you giving up on their dreams, and you're still holding on to one. And you're like, damn, like if they just held out for a little bit longer, like, 6 months later something would have hit, or a year later something would have hit, and like their dream would still be alive. So yeah, it's just that the persistence is just so huge. It's yeah, it can't be overstated. Like it is even this interview, dude. I've been asking you forever, and it hasn't been like, I don't have any hard feelings about it. Like some things just take time, and I don't mind asking, however many times, 4 times, whatever.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think about 4 times, and that's the simplest way to acknowledge that point that you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't give up. if if you can, if you have the opportunity to not give up, is how I like to think of it, because there for sure is, at least in my own path, a level of privilege that allowed me to continue to pursue things. Whether it's as simple as being on my mom's health insurance still, that I didn't need to get a job, that I could afford health insurance. That's why I could like keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know, some people aren't wired this way. Like they take no really harshly. But if you are wired that way, you got to drop it, because really being able to hear no and then still keep pushing forward is so, oh my God, that is so important, because I've been told a million times for things and then still end up getting what I want at the end. It's just about being okay. Like, all right, for whatever reason, you kind of just have to get over yourself a bit, a little bit. Like, oh, I can't get what I want right now, and that's fine. Maybe I'll be able to get it eventually. So, yeah, little bit of toughness, a little bit of grit. But like you said, sometimes you got, sometimes you have a support system that enables you to have that persistence. And that's huge. Yeah. Love that. So let's do the viewer questions now. Here we go. Tony, what's your, and this is we're starting off negative. Beware. Biggest hot take / issue with park skiing?
I don't like. There's nothing that's like super hot. One thing that bothers me is that people think they need a winch to hit street. That's like super not true, and I think that like chances are most people's favorite street skiers prefer to not use a winch, and it's just like winches get attention because they're loud and they're like obvious in the shot when they are used. But like natural speed for hitting a spot or like building a drop in out of snow or wood is like immensely better, and everybody that I've ever hit spots with would always choose that over a winch. So I have friends that wouldn't ever grab onto a winch. So I think people need to be aware of that. Other things that bother me, I know people a lot of times like projecting insecurities. Like if you are at a hill and somebody doesn't say hi to you, but you know each other, you're like, why didn't that dude say hi to me? Like they're being a dick or whatever. Like take a second and realize that you also didn't say hi and you knew them. So now there's like two homies that would have been best friends that were too shy to say hello to each other. And now they both think the other is an asshole for no reason. Just like take that, take that little risk of putting yourself out there, and maybe it's not who you thought it was, or maybe they don't recognize you or remind you or remember you, but chances are you're both in the same situation where you just like need to break that very thin barrier and then have a great day together lapping the park the way that you would as homies instead of becoming enemies for no reason.
Yeah, dude, that. Whew, I first really became acquainted with that in college, like because you'd have classes with people, but then like you kind of know them, but then you like don't really know them. The thing I always told myself, and I tell everyone, is if you recognize them, there's a good chance they recognize you because you're in the same boat. So just say hi, and the sooner you say hi, the less awkward it's going to be when you say hi. Like you walk past them, just hit them with a yo, what's up? Just oh hey, that's it. That's all it takes. It doesn't have to be some like, hey, what's how you doing? Just be like, yo, what's up, dude? And that
Right.
eliminates so much heartache. Oh my god.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big one. I've heard stories of it going bad, like just people not saying what up, and then like this huge rift growing between people for no reason. I'm like on both sides, like, yo, you guys are idiots. uh, I do it to like a fault for sure at this point. Like I go to Sugarbush, if someone's lapping the park, I say hi no matter what, because like kids, like I said, kids are changing. I don't know who I know at this point, so I'm like, I'll say hi to people and they'll have never, ever, ever met me. And they'll be like so confused about like why this giant man is approaching them and talking to them. But like, still, I'd rather have that awkwardness than the like homie I've known for 3 years getting ignored by me. That's like way worse. So I just say what up. It's
Yeah,
safer to say what up.
it's so much safer. Also, and I want to throw this in there because people have said that this has helped them. Zach Pfeiffer, shout out Sovereign. He said that he's simply too high to talk sometimes. Like he's just smoked too much. He's on the lift and he's just kind of in his own head. People are talking to him and he's not as talkative as he could be. I think if you just go through that, if you're on the mountain and you think someone's dissing you or they're being a little shy, maybe just keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe they're just
Yeah, it's two piece. Say what up to them anyway, and then also understand they might just be stoned.
yeah, exactly. Like it just everyone's trying to be a nice guy for the most part.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Let's see. This is the favorite section. Everyone's asking your favorite this, favorite that. Favorite True Days episode.
Mm. For those that don't know, True Days is a video series I did for 2 seasons. The season I lived at Bear and the season after. It was kind of like I was super inspired by Chug Life, obviously, or maybe not obviously if you hadn't seen Chug Life, but just like vlog-ish style, capturing the shenanigans that me and my friends were up to. To pick a favorite episode from like 2 years of my life is a crazy challenge, though. Um, I don't think I can pick a favorite. Some standouts for me is the Mount Hood one I did. Um, I think I called it Hatruna Matata. That one was really fun. I had like Lion King stuff woven into it, and it was like my first time hanging out with a lot of the Swedish homies, and also my first time at Hood, which is very, very special. Um, so we can call that one. That one's top five out of the 14 I did or whatever.
All right, that's pretty good. So I'm just gonna list.
Did you
Yeah, I
have a? Did you watch those videos?
yeah. I mean, I watched them all as they got dropped. I rewatched a few standouts actually. Hunter gave me some. Let me see. I think the first one the cross country one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny because you have a very great opening quote at the beginning. You're like, I forget what you said, but it was along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm a bad skier making videos about my friends that are better skiers. It must be chug life." That was so. That was just such a funny intro to the whole series. Uh,
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt going into it.
yeah, I liked the one that I watched doing the research for this. I liked the Telefrentor one because I think I actually saw you on the Telefrentor for that one with your flip camera. So I
Yeah,
just like,
yeah. Sure, the sundown stop. You mentioned Cole Drexler. Like that's when we had linked up. We went to, was it Fatty's ski shop to get mounted up?
yeah, I still
Yeah.
I still get all my stuff mounted there. No free ads though. No, I'm just playing. They do a good job. Let's see. Yeah, that was so fun, dude. Cole is like one of my favorite skiers. Uh, let's see. Let's do negative again. Why not? Holden, what's your least favorite park ski graphic of all time?
I'm not like really a graphics head. Um, so my idea isn't maybe super comprehensive.
Yeah.
I probably like some of the like early J skis graphics, like almost 10 years ago at this point. Not particularly for me. But a lot of their more recent graphics have been sick. Like the Sam Ziner Pro models are usually pretty fire, and the Shea McFalls graphics obviously are super fire.
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell, bro. I'm like, you asked me to hate on something, and I just like rather not.
Yeah. People love the negative questions. It's fun to get a little controversy in the mix. Um, Speaking of ski graphics, the I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the model name, and I have a loose memory of it. But I love the HG. Were they jellyfish skis? And that is that what
Bro,
I'm remembering?
that
Yeah,
was my favorite HGs. I think I might have them here.
dude, I remember
Yeah,
just seeing
it was
those.
the Stinger. Those are the ones I had at Bear. No, I don't have the jellyfishes here. I think my friend Zach Harrington has that pair. He kept riding them after I retired them. The jellyfish stingers are super sick. And HG graphics are going to be my favorites just because they mean a lot more than the top sheet to me.
Yeah, those real. All right, we'll do a couple quick hitters. Uh, Gray Grayzen, Greyzn, Indica or Sativa?
Okay, this might be news for some people, but most people that are closer to me know that I don't smoke and I have never smoked. So, based on what I know about indica and sativa, I feel like sativa would be my answer, but I don't have any personal experience.
Boom. There you have it. All right, Cole, what's your favorite Vermont beer?
Oh, back to back. This is, I think, even more news for people that haven't been around me. I don't drink and I have never drank.
Whoa.
So I don't have a answer based on experience, but I'd say shout out to Lawson's because my homie Chase works there and they just did that event at Sugar Bush, which is really dope. And they're like, I can see the brewery from where I sit now. So that's the most local answer possible.
That's tight. Yeah. I meet many people that have stopped drinking, but to have never drank, that's like that's pretty impressive. Favorite resort to ski?
Sugar Bush.
Easy. Has that always been Sugarbush?
I would say even more specifically Mount Ellen, and more specifically than that, I'm on the Sunshine Quad. Like Sugar Bush is really one chairlift for me, and that's the best place in the world.
Sick. All right, taxi skier. Best part about UVM.
That it is. I really liked my program at UVM, but best thing about UVM, I think, for most people is that you're in Burlington and you're close to the mountains, so it kind of opens up doors to a world of outdoor enjoyment, whether it's hiking or skiing or whatever you get interested in. You can be out on Lake Champlain. Um, all good things. The school itself, I don't really know. I haven't been too involved in the school in recent years.
Yeah. Should have included this one after Holden's question, but Scoot, what's your favorite park skis, quality wise? They said the exact phrasing is which company produces the best quality for park skis, but I'm changing that to what's your favorite.
Uh, yeah. So I don't ski super aggressively, so I don't have like too many breaking ski situations, which means I'm not really testing quality. Like I'm not doing like major disaster switch lips or like hitting big jumps and landing like crazy backseat and snapping tails or whatever. So I don't have quality experience when it comes to buying a ski. For me, I'm like very narrow minded in my selection, and it's, do they support street skiers? If the answer is yes, then I'll consider buying a ski from them. If the answer is no, I'll I'll ask where their market budget is going, and or marketing budget is going, and like keep it moving. So right now, like skis that I've bought recently, Armadas, Surfaces, Vishnus I bought last year. Um, I bought some thousand skis this year. I bought a pair of jet skis. Uh, I have some 0 and 3 Ps. Yeah, that's like the hot list, I would say. That's who my friends are riding for, and they've been supporting street skiing, which is what I care most about.
That's awesome. All right, last of the favorite questions. There's so many, but this is the last one I'll pick up. Zero Drink 40. Favorite moments from the BYOB tour, and you could break down that acronym for everyone.
Yeah, so BYO Beanie is this event series I started. I did the first one in 2018, I think. Just I did a Burlington one 2 years in a row, took 2020 off. And then 2021, I did a tour, Burlington, Boulder, Bozeman, Jackson, Salt Lake. And then this past fall, 2022, I did Burlington, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Minneapolis. So that's a lot to choose a favorite moment from. I would say like on this past year, to narrow it down, like the best was that my friend Jackson and Sam Jackson Doremus and Sam Putnam came along with me for it, and they hadn't traveled to like these parts of the country, like through to the Midwest. So getting to share that experience with them was really fun. And there's plenty of work that we do on that, but there's also a lot of downtime to enjoy the places we are and the people that we're in those places with. And that's really, really dope. I have a video that Sam made that I'm going to drop probably in the fall, like before next tour starts. I'm not sure where I'm going yet in the fall this year, but I'm definitely going to be doing it again.
Sick. All right. That's the end of the what's your favorite questions. Let's get into some insights that people are asking for. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. Muffin Tops and Colton are asking pretty much the same thing, so you guys are getting combined. What's your biggest influence for new drops, for style, for fashion? Where's the influence coming from?
The biggest influence is I'm gonna shout out my girlfriend. I'll be surprised if she makes it this far into the podcast, so maybe I'll just tell her to skip to the end for her shout out. But Amelia is for sure the biggest influence. Whether it's like just the places I get to travel with her and the experiences that we have together, things I get inspired by from that. It's because of her that I'm in these places a lot of times, or even down to as simple as which of these two colors do you think is going to look sicker, and she gives me her answer and I just trust it because like why go with the other one, what's the point of that if I wasn't sure anyway. So on the whole range from big picture to specific decisions, like she plays a really big role in everything that I release for sure.
That's awesome. Uh, this is a funny one that they asked you this. Um, Casey, how to get over fear of rails?
Everybody's different when it comes to this. For me personally, I'm like a build your way up to it kind of guy. So, like, say I want to hit this big down rail in the park. First time through the park, I'm just gonna look at the takeoff, look at the rail, and then the next time I'm just gonna like ski fast past it, and then the next time I'm gonna like pop off the lip and like see if my tails would be clearing if I lip slide, and then you know for if it's just the one rail I'm looking at, like then I'm gonna like get the lip slide or like jump over the rail maybe to really prove to myself that I'm popping high enough or going fast enough. It's so specific because I'm only doing lip slides. It's maybe not so helpful, but like build your way up, build your confidence on smaller features and through the process of the steps of accomplishing what you want on the bigger features. And it's okay to be afraid. I think is a big part of it. Like some people are braver than others when it comes to hitting features in a park, but that's there's nothing wrong with those differences. And it's also all right to not hit something that you're afraid of, whether it's just that day or in general. Like I don't really hit jumps, and it's maybe not a fear of getting hurt for me probably, but like that's okay. I'm not if it's only fear, then maybe it's not fun, and you can just keep it moving to what you're already enjoying.
Yeah. What you're describing, your little process, that is exposure therapy. Like, okay, let's just look. I love especially that first step. Let's just look at it. Can we look at it without being afraid? Okay. Can we stand near it without being afraid? Okay. Then we can work from there. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think for me, like when I like just with rails, it's just the more time spent on rails, the better you'll be at them. Even if you're just hitting them straight, like just the more time you have with that feeling, I think is better. But yeah, man, I jumps. It's like at a certain point, at a certain size, I'm just like, why even bother? Why even bother?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so I can straight air like for another half a second. Like I'm not spinning them, so
Oh, that's funny. Um, Nick, he actually DM'd me this one because it was a little bit longer. What were the early days of Arsenic like? Were you selling out all the time, or was it a struggle? How did you take it to the next level?
I think you could be selling out all the time, and that is a struggle, or there is a struggle still. So I wouldn't draw a dichotomy there. The early days, I wouldn't have, I wasn't selling out, I would say either, but I also wouldn't say it was a struggle because it was low pressure for me. I was just like trying to make some shirts and like have my friends wear them. It was like really, really innocent. And, you know, like I said, it was a passion project up until it still is a passion project, but it's my only source of income too at this point. But like the mindset I always bring to it was way chiller. Um, Early days, I was just making shirts, and my friends were buying them, and that's the same thing that's happening now. Struggles happen, there's challenges along the way, but it's like big picture. I'm like just so stoked. Like I could pull up to the hill and someone's wearing something I made, and that's so fire. Or I can like hear about my friend in, I don't know. Well, I just got a message yesterday or 2 days ago. My friend is visiting Park City from UVM right now, and or Brighton or something. I don't know, Utah. Just sits on the chair with somebody who finds out that he's going to UVM, and then asks if they know Arsenic or if they know me. And it turns out it's a buddy from like a few years before in the Burlington area, and then now they get to be homies on the chairlift. Like those types of connections that get to be made just because of like clothes that I have created, or friendships that I've made along the way, and people getting to connect through that is so rewarding. And whatever struggle that maybe was in the mix, like I don't know, I couldn't get something in a size large that I needed or whatever, or something didn't sell out and I needed the money. Like that's really small scale and not stuff that I remember compared to the other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I love it when I'm wearing Arsenic and I see somebody else either wearing it, because then it's like, what's up? Or if they ask about it. And my first question is always, are you from the East Coast? Like I was out at X Games, some girl's wearing the thick shouty hat, and she's like, oh, I like your sweatshirt. And I'm like, word, are you from the East Coast? Because I don't know. For me, I think no matter how big it gets, it's always going to be like, oh yeah, that's that Vermont brand.
I I appreciate that, and like for me, yeah, I'm an East Coast guy through and through. But you might have to open up on that a little bit, because when you next time you travel to Europe for one of these events you're going to cover, I'm sure you're going to get over there at some point.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be able to ask the Finnish homies if they're from the East Coast.
Oh, where in Mass are you guys from? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see. This person, they said, SM Graph 19. How are you able to manage running Arsenic? How's the time management aspect? But I suspect that time management isn't an issue and it's your only gig. Is that correct?
Yeah. I just set my own deadlines and like stick to them. I guess there's like that level of self discipline that I don't really have to worry about it. And then also, if things aren't going according to plan, I can just always push things back if I need to. I don't know. It's pretty chill. Time management. Like I could be more efficient, but maybe I wouldn't be as happy. I'm not like out here grinding, like putting in 15 hours a day, like in the studio, sewing and emailing and whatever. Like it all happens so casually for me. Like this right now that we've had the great conversation for 2 hours is work for me, allegedly. Like there's some marketing benefit to doing this, which is absurd because I'm so happy to be doing this. And then after this, I'm going to go to the hill and film and edit with my buddies. And that's marketing too. Like it's all marketing, and it's just me living my life being as happy as I can be. So yeah, I guess like the time management is like, how do I have the most fun today and make clothes I'm excited about and work with people who are talented and like love the same things I love. Like, where am I going to find time to do all these wonderful things? I know it's a blessing that I'm in this position, and I'm grateful for it every day. And I take time to acknowledge that for sure. But that's like my time management is just like trying to find more time to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because it's so much good times.
Yeah. It's awesome that you said that. That you said the question you asked yourself is like, what would be most fun for me? Because I've been finding myself lately asking myself, like, if I'm feeling bored or stuck or whatever, it's like, okay, what could I do? Not like today, but like, what could I do that would excite me the most? And usually, what excites people the most is what scares them the most. So it's like, okay, what's a challenge that I could take on that would motivate me to act? And dude, I think that like if I don't know, that's a good if you could fall back on that mindset of like answering that question, what would be the most fun for me? What would be the most exciting thing I could do? I think that can generate a lot of stuff for people, because a lot of people, it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And I don't think that's a very valuable question to be asking yourself. Like, obviously, if you have things to do around the house, you got a leak in your roof. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do in this situation? That's one thing. But if you're looking at your everyday life, choosing what you want to do, I don't think what am I expected to do? What am I supposed to do? I don't know if that's the best question people should be navigating life through.
It's tough, bro, because again, it's like a position of privilege. Like I can make enough money to pay rent with what I'm doing, so I have the opportunity to like ask myself what's the most fun today and know that like I've created a situation where that's also beneficial for me in this world that like demands money for existence. But some people gotta do what they gotta do
Oh yeah,
each day, whether it's fun or not. And I have a lot of respect for people who are in that position as well. And you know, I think it's important to keep the perspective because I'll be in that position again someday. Like I turn to my girlfriend, like I said, like I'm grateful every day. I'm like, we're so lucky because oh, it's gonna be nice weather on Wednesday. Like, cool, we're not working on Wednesday then. We can have the sunny day,
yeah,
or you know, and who knows how long this will last for, but it's important for me to acknowledge that I'm in this position and to be appreciative of these opportunities.
absolutely. And I think going off of that, obviously there's circumstances that helped you succeed, and you wouldn't be able to support yourself unless you had people buying the product. But at a certain point, people make their own luck. Like it's not like, oh, COVID's messing up your main gig. Here's a clothing company and run it. Like you kind of made your own luck in that situation, and I think I don't know. I think people have the capability to make their own luck more than they give themselves credit for. And I'm kind of leading us into the next question I'm going to ask. But if you have any thoughts on that, you could say anything you
No,
want.
you can keep running. I feel like I said my piece.
Yeah. So my question is, or Remy's question is, what are some setbacks you've run into, and how did you overcome them?
Word. Like I said, it's I don't think on setbacks too much. The way I live my life is really like mindset first. So I focus on good things for myself. You're pretty optimistic and positive overall, as much as I can be. Um, which makes these setbacks so much smaller in my memory because a good thing and a bad thing happen, and I think a lot of human nature, even for me, is to focus on the bad thing and fixing it or addressing it or even just dwelling on it, whether it's productive or not, and overriding that instinct to reflect on the good things, the positive things, the hope that you have for things, just gives me the opportunity to like rewire how I remember the past even. So it's I can like a setback that I've had, let's say, is like I got a run of t-shirts printed and they were not how I wanted them to be. Like there was a color missing or whatever, and it was like honestly a product that I didn't want to sell. So now I'm out like I don't know, 300 or $500 because I refuse to sell this shirt because I want the shirt to be how it's supposed to be. And that's a setback because now I lost the time. I was waiting like 3 weeks to get those done and I was going to sell them. And also lose the money because I'm not going to sell them. But the way I turn that setback into a positive thing is I get the shirts made that I want. So when it's all said and done, I didn't lose that $300 because the profit of the other shirts covers it at least by a little bit. But then also, I just wait a while. I have that box of shirts sitting at my mom's house, and the shirts are fine. The graphic's just not what I want, but there's still value to that graphic. And now instead of having a bunch of product that sucks, I have what it turned it into was product that I could give away because it wasn't worth anything to me. I didn't want to sell that product, but now I can give it away to people. So I just give it to like 30 of my friends, and now 30 of my friends all have a shirt. They want to wear it. It's Arsenic because they like want to support me, and I'm appreciative of that. And now they're wearing a shirt that, people get to see them wearing, because like shirt is basically a billboard, bro. That's like the best thing with clothing, is it advertises itself in that way. So it went from being a setback to a marketing expense and seeding product, like, as if I'm using formal terms. Like, I just like hooked up my friends because I had the opportunity to, and they hooked me up by wearing it, and then probably off of that, other people bought clothes, and it was really just an investment.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset of it, like reframing how I remember it.
Hmm. And that's a little bit of that persistence. It's like, all right, this sucks. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's spin
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Let's do
I for
something with
sure
it.
didn't quit there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Last from the insight section. Fly Fish the East. Shout out this guy. I think he listens to every single episode. He was the one that posted on his story that he had the most minutes listened out of anybody I saw in 2022. So huge shout out to him.
That's
He
fire.
says, any advice for someone looking to create a community behind a brand like you have?
I don't want to give myself credit for creating the community, and I never do. I think I more so found a community that already existed, and gave us a way of connecting with each other. So I think the way that I did that was I was doing something I believed in, sharing what I believed in, and giving people the opportunity to, whether they agree with it and they want to be a part of it and buy into it, and like get a hat, or just like have a sticker and watch a video, or come to a premiere, however they want to be involved, give them the opportunity to be involved. And then people who aren't feeling it, like, they just carry on with their day, like look the other way or go buy whatever they wanted to buy. But for trying to make a community, don't try to make a community, find a community that already exists. I would say give them something to identify with, and give them a way to find each other. And then, I think that's kind of where I got, or how I got to where I am now with Arsenic.
That's fire. Let's see. All right, I just call this section just general Q and A. We got, and just for everyone to know where we're at, we're gonna do some like general Q and A. We're gonna ask you about the future, and then we're gonna let you go. Um, Grant, are you the new gibberish? Especially looking at what the space gibberish used to hold.
I don't ever aim to be gibberish. Um, I wouldn't say, yeah, no, that's like not the goal, bro. Like, gibberish is gibberish, and I got a lot of love for that brand, the people who have ran it over the years, the clothes that they've made. I'm the dude who was copping like $800 of gibberish in 2012, like, without a doubt. Um, I am the current Arsenic. We're just super different, and I understand like the notion behind that question, but I just wanted to respectfully acknowledge that it's not how like I look at things.
Yeah, I think using the airport example, like what I would wear to the airport, I'm way more inclined now to wear arsenic than I would be gibberish if I'm looking to find someone else in the ski community. Just personally, like I just think I think maybe that's where like more of the youth's at now, and I feel like a lot more fashion heads are like really into gibberish, but that's just how I've evolved over time. I'm sure some people feel the same way. Uh, we got Sam Zahner asking you a question. Might be a little bit of a call out. He said, "How are you going to claim the Lip on Blind 2 is better than a K-Fed?"
So, just to clarify, I never claimed Lip Balm Blind 2 was better than anything. Because if it's the only thing, what could it be better than other than itself, right? So it's the only trick. There's no comparison. And also, I'd like to say that if you lip slide, then K-Fed, it's a Lip Balm Blind 2. So I got no beef with the K-Fed. A lip on front swap blind 2 is a lip on blind 2 in my book.
I love the spin. All right, that was great. Let's see. I'll just grab a couple more from this section. Sindre, and I actually don't know what he's talking about with this, so you could give me a little bit of guidance. He said, "Will Jim's only trick from COTG ever be topped?"
Mm. All right, so to explain it to you, Jim is Jamie Amadeo, who's a good friend of mine here in Vermont. He's part of the HG Skis team, and COTG is Children of the Guan. That was their movie that came out in 2015, I think, or maybe it was filmed 2015, came out 2016. I'm not sure, but the movie before Eat the Guts, which many of us are familiar with. Jim's ender in Children of the Guan, his ender of the video, is this absolutely ballistic lip on Blind 2 on an incredibly gnarly rail in Syracuse. And he did it in the most astonishing way. It looked like he was exploding and dying. And like halfway through the explosion, he just like mega steez mode, like his body was like literally exploding, and then he just like closes it up, like because he's in the air for so long, and halfway through the B2 becomes a perfect stomp, and he lands super bolts. This is on like a down flat, elbow right down. So it's like a 6 kink rail with an elbow at the end, like after you're already hauling. And he hauled into it. He hit this rail like way faster than anybody else has ever hit this rail. And he just like blasts off and stomps.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the video now, so I played a little bit. I might have to screen share this just so we could witness this because it sounds ill. Let me see.
Have you not seen this clip?
I have not seen this clip.
In my humble opinion, it's the best lip on Blind 2 of all time.
All right, let's see this. All right, let's see. Okay, spread this out. Screen share. Oh, here we go.
Oh, that's the rail. Back up a little more.
I've seen this clip, bro. I have seen this clip. All right, we'll let it roll out for a sec.
Oh my god. Yeah, bro. See that? Okay.
This might be it.
It's square too. I always forget that it's like square. Yeah. Boom. Explosion. Stomp. Look at that.
I've seen this clip, bro. Because I just remember that. I just have that burned into my mind. Him almost losing it at the elbow.
Yeah.
That's ill.
And it's so crazy that he was trying to do that. To me, that's the craziest part, was he wanted to do that lip on Blind 2. Oh my god. Yeah, that
was sick.
I've watched a lot, and that's the best one I've ever seen. So to the question, will it ever be topped? I hope so. Just for like my sake of enjoyment, but I'll understand if it never is. It's held the title for like what, 8 or 9 years now. So yeah, that's an insanely dope clip.
Yeah, that's insane. All right, Parker. I think you mentioned this at the beginning too, about a book. He says, Parker asks, have there ever been any plans for an arsenic mag or publication of any sort?
Yeah. So I'm not going magazine. I think that like a magazine is so much work because of the expected, like regularity. It's just this like not something that I'm going to be making time for with like the time I have. But I do want to make a coffee table book for arsenic that I've been working on. I had the idea for a while now, and I'm working with a couple people to make it happen at this point. Planning on putting it out this fall, and it's gonna have a couple different things up to it. I'll do like a little bit of arsenic history and like some design, like background stories and behind the scenes stuff. But I'm more excited about the ways I'm going to incorporate other people that have been involved with arsenic through the years. I'm going to do things like have highlights on different crews that I've had the pleasure of spending time with, and have like people who are passionate about different things like share something relating to their passion that'll be in the book. Like I have a homie who's like a yoga instructor in, I think he lives in Dallas these days, and he's like been an arsenic supporter for mad years, and a good homie for just as long. So I'm gonna like have him come up with like a pre-ski or after ski like stretch flow for people to do. And I got like a homie who's super passionate about food, and I'm gonna ask like for some recipes from him, and like I'm gonna put in like my morning smoothie recipe, and friends that have like iconic cars from over the years. Like I'll ask for like some pictures of their cars and like some stories of that, because like for me, my car is usually a pretty big part of my personality, and I like to highlight that about myself. So I know other people feel the same way. Like people name their cars, so that kind of thing. It's like a lot of random stuff that I find valuable or significant to arsenic or the people who have been in and around my life over the years will find its place in the book, and sort of put a stamp on like the first 14 years of what I've been doing.
I cannot wait for that. I'm for sure copying one. Are you going to sign every copy?
My signatures would devalue it, but I'll probably have like a forward or something in there. I don't know. I'll do a lot of writing. If you want a copy signed, we can arrange that.
That'd be ill. I would love that. Yeah, that's like right up my alley. I'm a nerd for ski lore, no matter how minute.
Yeah, I feel you. It'll have plenty of that and plenty of other stuff too.
Yeah, sick. All right, we'll wrap that up. Here's the future questions. This is all looking forward. Um, this one's a little bit less serious, but I'm going to throw it in there. August asked, "Would you ever hold a vote with all your previous sweatshirts to bring a few back?"
The answer is no.
Boom.
And the reason is I'd rather try to make something better. I understand why, or the reasons that occur that cause people to like want something that they've already seen. But at the same time, like if you could have it, you really wouldn't want it anymore, and it would devalue it in a sense. And it's not like a challenge to me to sell people what they want over and over again. Feels like it would just get stale. I'm way more excited personally and getting more enjoyment about trying to make something new that will be even better. Like if I were just making the boxing gloves hoodie still, like would I have ever made this Curious George piece that I'm wearing right now and that I sold this fall? Probably not. I probably would have just been like resting on my laurels and giving the people what they want. And to a degree, I try to give the people like people want certain colors, or like I bring a design through a few times, but to just make like the same exact thing again isn't fun for me. And like we said, I'm trying to do the most fun thing every day. So maybe it's selfish in a sense for sure, but I also think there's like a certain respect for the brand that I hold to not just do the same old, same old.
Yeah. You're not going to just be playing the hits forever. Jimmy Buffett, just,
Yeah, you can't play. I guess and musicians can play the hits forever, but I don't think a clothing brand can. It doesn't seem to last that long.
Yeah. Rob asks, how much do you want the brand to grow? Would you like to keep it exclusive?
I would not describe the brand as exclusive. I would call arsenic inclusive, and I'd never have the intention of people like. I understand my stuff sells out, and sometimes it sells out quick, but that my not my intention to exclude people from these things. It's more so like usually a factor of like what I can afford to make when I'm making it. Um, like, and it's hard to like get 100 of something. Let's say like usually I'm making like 50 of something. I can't just like go and get 100 of it because I think people are gonna like it more. It's like a big risk to do that. So, and it's expensive as a risk because everything you don't sell is like a sunk cost. And I'd much rather err on the side of caution and like for sure sell out and not waste any money making stuff people don't want than like take that risk and make too much of something. It's just, and it's not a good look either to have like a ton of product just sitting. Yeah, so it's not an exclusive thing like that. I think arsenic kind of has been growing naturally, and as it expands, I do have money to afford creating more of things or to create different things. And right now, product wise, a focus of mine is definitely creating different things. Like I did the answer pants starting last year and going into this season, and that's been super fun to work on that. I did a couple different hats this year and answer overshirt. I'm working on like a windbreaker for next year, a hooded puffy jacket, and maybe a couple other things if I can have the time and money for it. But I'm not like gonna drop 200 of the same sweatshirt just because I think people are gonna like it. I'd rather, I don't know. Uh, it's inclusive, and the exclusivity is not a tactic I'm using for a branding element. It's product of my financial ability and risk management. And I'm excited for people to be able to get what they want and for it to be different still from what other people have.
Yeah. Cool. Lmarsh.h. What's one thing you would like to accomplish as such a big part of the ski industry?
I just want to help people have more fun. And it's not like I don't really consider myself to be a part of the ski industry. I realize, like, I don't know, the ski industry at large doesn't A, know about me, or B, care about me. It's small in the grand scheme of things, but like I'm tiny in even the scheme of the ski industry. Like I'm not even in a shop. Like besides D Structure, shout out to D Structure, best shop. Um, like you know, wait, what was the question again? Sorry,
What would
I'm just like,
you got hung up on that one part? It was what would you like to accomplish?
okay, so that's like the framing of the question was something I just needed to address. The actual question is what I would like to accomplish, and it's a lot of things. So many things. For me personally, like there's some street skiing aspirations I have still. I got to get a couple clips out there. Um, I would like to continue to support my friends that are super talented as best as I can afford to, or with my time. Like I'll be out there shoveling spots, bro, or I'll be out there like buying an Airbnb if I can, or giving a homie like a pair of like kind of broken skis if theirs are fully broken. Like whatever I can do to help, I am usually do it. Like I don't know, I can't think of a time when I didn't help when I could. So that's my goal to accomplish, just helping people enjoy what they are passionate about and using whatever resources I have to make that happen.
Yeah. All right. Last of the viewer questions, and I have one more afterwards. Rolf and then Fresh Rye Bread. Same essence of their questions. What is the future for Arsenic? And I'll just leave it at that. They expanded a little bit, but yeah, just what's the future of Arsenic?
Hard telling, not knowing, bud. I'm gonna go skiing after this, and like I said, product wise, I'm working on a couple of cut and sew things that I'm excited about. I hope that Arsenic can continue to mean something to people. That's like the best thing about it right now is it means something to people. Um, the in the future, like if I'm continue to help make video projects is something I'm passionate about. I'd like to buy a house someday. That would be really sick. Like if things go really well, it's not like feeling like an impossibility at this point to like put a down payment on and like pay for a mortgage. Maybe that's like a personal goal for sure. Um, Events. I love doing the events that I'm doing. I would like to find good resorts to work with, like Sugarbush, to expand some of my on snow event ideas. But I'm also super patient in that. I'm not gonna like force anything that I don't know. I'm not really trying to work with like old heads that don't get it. I want to work with homies. Only thing I want to do is work with homies and help homies and do dope shit with dope people. It's simple as that. So like wherever that leads me 5 years from now, I can't say for sure, but I know that whatever it looks like from the outside, the inner workings of it is me and my friends having a good time.
That's sick. And perfect segue. I left off one phrase for the origins that I feel like you you struck gold with this. Anywhere with the right people. What are your thoughts on that? Where'd you come up with that, and what does it mean to you?
And again, it's not like I didn't build the community. I just came up with a way for the community to find each other conveniently. Like same with this phrase that means so much to me. Like yeah, I live by it. It's not just like a slogan for a brand type shit. Like I live by that, and that's how I was able to boil it down into so few words that resonate with people. Like I had that feeling. I was like, I remember in my notebook, I was writing something out like junior year of college, probably. And I had like one of the lines on it was, it's not where you are, but it's who you're with. And that was probably like the first time I put it to words. And then, you know, a couple of years down the road, I had that many more life experiences. I had gotten to move out west for a season. I had traveled to Hood for a spring pass. You know, I got to be a part of the Tell a Friend tour. I was even fortunate enough to go over to Sweden and hang out with the bunch for a few occasions. And it started like really adding up to me. Like those are all different places: California, Oregon, Sweden, the small resorts in the Midwest that Andy Perry brought me to. And like anywhere was the word to summarize that. And it's to put a qualifier or an adjective on the people that you're with. You can call them good people, you can call them friendly people. I think in different circumstances, everybody can have like, I don't know, different qualifiers that describe them, but the right people isn't really something that's up for debate, because it means it's different to everybody, or it's different to every situation who the right people are. You know, like say, oh, here's a great example of anywhere with the right people on like a kind of a silly level. Checking out spots with my buddies last winter, right? And I am cranking my neck too hard, not paying attention to the road as much as I should have, and I hit a curb and I popped my tire. And I like roll slowly and pull over, and we're at the gate of this graveyard, right? Anywhere, gate of this graveyard. We were looking for spots. I got a flat tire, and this is my first time needing to jack my car up in this car. And I don't know like how this jack really works. Honestly, I'm not like mechanically inclined, even on like such a basic level. So I'm like, and I'm kind of stressing too. Like it's my car, it's my problem with this situation. But my buddy Sawyer, he's like not stressing it at all. He's like he builds ski lifts, and he's a bit more mechanically inclined than I am. So in this instance, the right people is Sawyer, because he like whips out, he's in his ski boots, bro, and he like gets the jack figured out, gets my car propped up, gets the spare on all for me, like while I'm on the car, like on the phone stressing like with my insurance or something, or trying to get a tow. I don't even know. I was just like kind of like down bad about it, and I was luckily anywhere with the right people, and I didn't actually have much to worry about. And that's like, a kind of a different spin than maybe most people would expect, but that's why that phrase is so powerful, because it can be applied in a lot of situations and gives more people the opportunity to relate to it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I sent you a DM about it one time, but like there was one day it just clicked for me. I was like watching these videos, and I had just like gotten off this like big work project, and it was like, damn, all of my favorite videos of all time are just these groups of friends that love being around each other, that are just doing something they love together. And that's all, like every single video that I love comes down to that. And it's just like, yeah, they love who they're with and they love what they're doing. And so I think it's gold. You hit gold with that one. Like some phrases really just sum it up perfectly.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I had the experiences that taught me that notion, and that I had just enough finesse with the words to put it so succinctly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Dan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me, bro. I'm glad we just did this marathon together.
It was great. All right. Thank you to everyone that stuck by till the end, and we will see you next time.